The one they call the Big Daddy Kane is here as the party animal, sex symbol, soloist, vocalist, microphone miracle, here to react, attack. As a matter of fact, I bring forth a sudden impact. Wanna say knick-knack, paddywhack, give Kane a microphone, and all the other MCs are going.
At the Grand Concourse 149th Street Station in the Bronx, graffiti writers gather at what they call the writer's bench.
What's good? What's good? Welcome to Live from the Writer's Bench. It's your man Kill with all my soldiers here today. We got Beezo and Vic. What's going on, fellas?
All right, yeah. What up?
Yeah. Today we're going to be chopping it up about today's show was simply called That's Not Hip Hop. And this show came about from, cats probably know, but Juicy J had a $50,000 scholarship available to the girl who could twerk the best. And the second I read that, I was like, you know what? Everybody's going to be like, see, hip-hop is degrading our young women, and hip-hop is doing this, and hip-hop is doing that. And my first instinct was, Juicy J ain't hip-hop. Like, that dude is not the culture that I love. But people who aren't hip-hop heads don't understand that. It's almost like how Chris Rock was saying there's a difference between blacks and niggas. You know, white folk usually don't see the difference. It's just like, oh, the niggas done did that, or the niggas did this, just grouping us all together. And black folk like, nah, we don't mess with them either. You know what I'm saying? And it's the same thing with hip hop. And it's just, I feel like it's time now that hip hop is at that age where it's broken down into genres. But before we dive into that, what do y'all think about Juicy J offering 50 G's, not for who got, you know, who can write the best essay or who can spit the best rhyme, but the girl who's the best twerker? What do y'all think about that?
Can I go first on this one, please?
Knock yourself out.
Yo, I mean, to say that's not hip hop is an understatement. That's not even sensible. It's not logical. It's just, it's asinine, as my mother would say. It's just, what are you doing? So you gonna get a scholarship to go to school to educate yourself by shaking your ass? I mean, then just go to the strip club. So you get cash, you ain't got to pay to the tax man. That makes no sense. You know what I'm saying? It's just like, I mean, I agree with you 1,000% that about the breaking the genres up, because that's very real. I think that needs to be done as a necessity to preserve hip hop. But him saying that, I mean, Juicy J, part of my ignorance, but isn't he the cat from 666? What is it? 6 Mafia?
Yeah, 3
I can't even say their damn name. Yeah, 3-6 Mafia. I mean, so that right there tells you something. The name of their group is 3-6 Mafia. Okay, you know, 666s. We all know. I'm not a religious dude like that, but come on, we all know what that signifies. But what's this? I mean, did anybody join it? He might have just gave it to Miley Cyrus then or something. It doesn't make any sense, man. It's illogical. It's asinine. It's foolish and it's ignorant. It's not hip hop, because that's not all the words I just used. That's not hip hop. It's not the hip hop I grew up loving. It's not about ignorance. It's not about nonsense. There may be some ignorance involved from time to time in the music, but that's not hip hop. It isn't, man. That's not anything. It's just dumb shit. Pardon my French, but that's not music. That's just some dumb nigga shit. I mean, really, that's all it is, man. I hate to say it like that, but that's what that is, man. Straight up.
What you think, Vic?
I agree, man. I don't even know what that's about. Like, you know, $50,000 to shake your ass to go to school. It's like it all contradicts. Everything is just chaos, man. Like I don't get that. Like, where her parents at?
Yo, the sad part is her mom's may be like, yo, you need to go.
Right.
Money.
We'll take the shopping for the gear.
Right. You know,
depending on the coach, man. But that's a shame, man. Like, you have to tell a child, like, this is what we're gonna, you know. Usually it's like a poetry contest or something, with, you know, what you did for the community. But nah, this is just straight up, yo, go twerk.
Yo, that's for real. Usually there's a poetry contest. or a twerking contest.
Yeah, it just went straight to
What is that fucking word? Yeah, I'm sorry to be cursing like this, man, but what the fuck is twerking anyway, son?
You know what? Twerking don't even matter no more. It's yiking now. Did you see the yiking shit?
Nah, man.
Nah, what the? Come on, man.
But we don't want to get too far. We don't want to get too far with all the new stuff. Right. Ev, what you got on Juicy's?
Man, everybody need to go to school, man. You know, everybody need to go to school.
He need to take that 50 G's and take his ass to school with that shit, man. Come on, man.
I mean, I don't think, you know, this is definitely not going to be anything that we're going to disagree on. I just think it's foolish. I think the fact that, you know, you would come out of your mouth and say, yo, I'm going to give somebody $50,000 to see who the best twerker is, already shows what kind of person that you are. And then anybody that responds already shows what kind of people that you are. So I think, you know, I think it's hilarious because it's so stupid. It's like, I've never heard nothing that dumb. And I'm sure there's some people like, yo, did you hear about the twerking joint? $50,000 out for school. You know I'm going down there. You know I'm going down.
You know what? Let me ask y'all something. How many chicks that would sign up for a contest to win 50 G's for twerking are that interested in going to college like that? You know what I'm saying? Would use it for those means.
You know what the bad thing about it is? There's some kids out there who just ain't got nothing, and you know, just like, you know, a chance to win some dough for something.
But are they gonna use it to go to school though?
Yeah,
like, they would take the 50.
I'm sure there's some of them out there, you know, just not thinking about it at the depths that we think about it. Just think about it like, all I gotta do is go out there and twerk. I get $50,000 for school.
50 G's, where you going to school at? That's the other part.
Yo, but I think
it's a 1-year scholarship, dog.
I think the worst part is that there are gonna be girls who don't not just who want to be down with it, but girls who really want to go to college.
Right. That's
don't have the money.
That's my point.
And I was feeling like, damn, this is what I gotta do.
What I gotta do. That's my point.
To do it. You gonna have the chicks out there that's like, yo, I'm down with it, whatever. But like I said, the sad part is you're gonna have a chick who's like, yo, I really want to go further my education. My moms can't afford it. I can't get out these loans. So I gotta go belittle myself just to further my education. And to me, that's the saddest part. But to me, the not the worst part, that's the saddest part. But the other bad part is, like I said, people who aren't hip hop heads are gonna blame hip hop for it. You know, and it's like Chris Rock was saying in one of his specials when he was saying, you know, back in the day, he could defend rap music. He could defend Public Enemy. He could defend Chuck D. He can't defend, you know, Smack Her With a Dick, or, you know, this, you know, Little John foolery. But again, that's not hip hop. Like, to me, Little John and the Whisper Song and the Yin Yang Twins, like, none of that is hip hop, but that's what it gets categorized as, you know, but that's always coming from people who aren't hip hop heads. We know the difference, but the masses don't. My old head at church past Sunday was preaching, and he was talking about, yeah, you know, there's no music, there's no hip hop talking about love, and I want to stand up and be like, what about Ghost Dini? Yo, Beezo man, talking about Ghost Dini. You know, yeah, you know what I mean? Like, yo, you know, you got Common's Delight. Yo, I heard like it's people who fly Common to they wedding to perform that joint. But again, my old head not being a hip hop head, he don't know none of these songs. All he's hearing is what's on the radio, or he's hearing what his daughter may be listening to. So again, the people who aren't hip hop heads, hip hop is getting blamed for everything.
Well, that's part of the problem. What you just said, Kill. That it's like the preacher dude. He's just hearing what's being presented by the media and all that. And just like anything else in the black community, in the black and Hispanic community, the most asinine, ridiculous foolishness is what they're gonna put out there. Like, oh wow, look at this. I never seen it. You know, they present that like that's what's representing the genre. You know what I mean? But you and I, like you said, we may know the difference or whatnot, but the masses don't. So going to your other question, it's like, my thing is, now personally, let me just say, I don't like strip clubs. I don't see the sense in spending thousands of dollars on some chicks shaking their ass for everybody when she ain't shaking it for me. Only reason she's shaking because I'm paying her money to. So I never been big on strip clubs. But when strip clubs first started to become the popular place to hang out or whatever, you would meet a stripper or some shit, you always start like, oh, I'm just doing this to pay for this. I'm just doing this to pay for that. I got a kid, or I'm trying to go to school. But nowadays, I saw some like last week, I forget the chick's name, but she like teaches an online class for pole dancing, and they using pole dancing as a form of exercise. So let's say a mom's and a daughter walks in there. It's like my wife and her friends go to yoga classes and shit. So you got some chicks, I don't know where, because I don't know these chicks, but you got some chicks that's going to stripper pole dancing classes.
Well,
the mentality is deeply embedded. Point is, it's deeper than just Juicy J's thing. Just shows you how deep this fuckery, for lack of a better word, how far it goes into the community, into the music, and into the genre, man.
Let me say this. Let me just put an FYI out there. I don't have anything wrong with chicks who want to go to learn how to pole dance for their mans. You know what I'm saying? If you want to go and work on your abs, because from what I hear, it's a very good ab workout. If you want to go work on your abs and bring the tricks back home to your man, that's one thing. I salute that. We need more wives in stripper pole dancing classes. I'll salute that. What I'm just saying is, for like you said, the fact that back in the day it was like, yo, I'm hustling, I'm doing this to get that, where now it's just, this is my occupation. Like, I'm not stripping anywhere else. I'm a stripper. Like, I'm a professional stripper. Like, this is what I do. There is no get out plan. There is no, I'm just, once I graduate from college, this is not Lisa Ray at the Players Club. This is not, those days are over. It's now, we live in the era of the occupational stripper.
He could have went about it another way. I mean, $50,000 to go to school, I commend the dude, because I haven't heard of anybody else. There probably are some type of whatever other people offering programs for kids to get to school, but I think he definitely, his intention was good, but the way he went about it
But you know what though, Vic? Is his intentions really good though? Is it really? I mean, that's like, that's like a cat hustling, selling crack in his neighborhood because he got to pay his bills. I can respect the fact you got to pay your bills, but there's other ways. Like Kid was just saying, like, that's a way it's good for the abs. Yeah, so a million other different exercises. You know what I'm saying? Like you said about the poetry contest. I mean, dude is a he's a hip hop artist. He couldn't come up with something better than that. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it just shows, man, how deep and how deep the rabbit hole is right now that the hip hop's falling into with all of this. Again, I hate to be cursing like this, but all the fuckery that's surrounding a lot of the music, man. And this is just a microcosm of what's wrong with hip hop to me.
Well, I think on another note too, the thing that when I think about the situation, and I actually really question his character, because it used to be a thing, or still is a thing now, whereas whoever will offer you money to pretty much offer you money to somewhat degrade yourself. And you have a lot of people doing that either via, just doing something outside of the character, violence, drugs, all these different factors. Now, to place that same degrading for someone that wants to get an education, it's like, you really trying to, fuck us from both ends now. Because, used to be a point where you'd be like, yo, I'm going to go on this path because I want to get this quick dough, so I'm going to do what I got to do. And a lot of times you always hear that, I'm going to do what I got to do. And that goes in all these different factors, whether it's drugs, whether it's prostitution, whatever it is. Everybody wants, I got to do what I got to do. But then you have another lane where you have people that's actually going like, you know what, I'm going to go and get education. I'm just going to go and work hard. You had to work hard, cats. Now, that's what I say. I really question him or whoever put him up to it, who was the brain behind it. And you really got to look at those things too, because now you're trying to take that same degrading principle and put it over here to the youth that are trying to get education, trying to get their education so they can better themselves. And they don't want to do what they got to do, type of thing.
Well, Ev, when you talk about where it comes from the mindset of the group that made It's Hard Out Here for a Pimp.
Well, yeah, I mean, exactly. But do we know that? We don't know who put him up to put 50,000. I mean, it could have came from his own mind. It could have came from whoever his manager is. It could have came from
his stripper girlfriend he's running with.
Yeah, it could have came from, who knows where who planted that seed. And I mean, my question is, even if it did come from him, you got to question the character and you have to question their motive. Like, what's the reason that you have to put $50,000 up to see somebody twerk? Why? What is it about that you gotta sit and watch somebody?
Giving the dum-dums a chance to go to school.
Well, Ev, you know what? What you just said is interesting, because think about it. $50,000, like Vic was saying, like, you know, what school you going to nowadays for 50 G's, like for 4 years. 50 G's in most colleges, respectable colleges, that's a year, maybe, you know what I'm saying, year and a half of school. There's no way you going to an accredited university.
You can squeeze 2 years at HBCU out for 50.
Yeah, okay. Well, like I said, a community college. You know what I'm saying? But a real college. You know what I'm saying?
Now that's a whole other show. He done threw every black college under the sun, under the bus.
I'm joking. But my point is, it's like what Ev was saying, that if he would have changed one simple word in that whole thing, $50,000 for the best twerking, or $50,000 scholarship. If he would have said $50,000 contest for twerking, $50,000 whatever for, you know what I'm saying, for whatever, anything else but a scholarship, it would have just stayed in its lane of ignorance and, you know, debauchery and fuckery and foolishness. But for you to drag in this educational shit and drop it in the middle of this by putting it as a scholarship, it's bastardizing the whole concept. It's bastardizing the whole thing. That's what I'm saying. Like what Ev said, it's like you got the one lane over here that's dedicated towards that lifestyle. You know, the strip clubs and the strippers, or like they used to be called dancers. You know what I'm saying? And then you have those that want to work hard. I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get an education. I'm going to do it the right way. So now he's like blurring those lines and trying to bring the two worlds together. And it's like Ev said, it's like, my man, who put you up to this? It's like, I mean, I don't know the dude Juicy J to know his motivations or whatever, but yo, I can't help but think it's something more than just this nigga doing that. It's like somebody got to be behind it. It's like, yo, my dude, nobody in your camp is sensible enough and righteous enough to be like, fam, I mean, 50 G's no doubt, but don't say scholarship. Let's make it a contest. We can do it at a strip club. We can go around the country even if you want to go to the land and whatever, and pick up strippers. Let's do it like that. But calling it a scholarship is what totally fucks it up. And I guarantee you that was for the controversy to get people to see it and to notice it.
Right.
I got a daughter 2 years out from school, and honestly, I wouldn't let her go do that.
No, of course not. I mean, because you got more sense than that. You know
I wouldn't let her go do that, man.
All right, so
believe me, school is expensive. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
But it ain't that expensive.
And they need scholarships.
No.
You know what I mean? They really do to go, man. But I couldn't.
Why? But that's good. Why is there no like hip hop,
I had to pass on
Def
that,
Jam or a Def Jam Bad Boy scholarship? You know, something like that.
P? The thing that I think, and not to get too far off topic, but I think the hard part for me is that athletes and cats and record labels and these execs always want to talk about they do good stuff. You know what I mean? But we keep that on the low because, you know, I don't want everybody to know my business. But I never understood that way of thinking because it's like you brag about all the dumb shit you do.
Exactly.
But the good stuff you do, you don't want nobody to know about that.
It needs to be a balance.
You know, like, why would you, like, with Kevin Durant, like, T was asking me the other day, like, I'm like, yo, the dude gave $1 million to Oklahoma. You know, she was like, did anybody else? And I was like, not that I know of. Like, nobody else came, you know, if they did, nobody else came out to say it. But that's the piece. I'm not saying you got to go on Twitter every time that you give somebody $1 or you helped out a person that you heard about, but you get on the mic and talk about all the dumb stuff you do every day. It's all about how much money you waste, and cats get on Instagram talking about, yeah, I done spent 20 G's on bottles. I only been in the club 5 minutes. You do all of that. Why don't you Instagram you taking homeless kids out to Toys R Us or something for Christmas like that?
You know what?
Sex selling. The crazy hustle is when they had a twerking contest, he gonna make more than 50.
Right.
But you know what though? I can't help when everything you were just saying, Kill. I can't help think about. I'm not gonna put the rapper's name out there, but one of my mans was working for a very popular rapper that everybody here knows, and anybody watching this will know this cat. And I had a connect to another connect. I was trying to get him connected with this cat, Teddy Atlas. He used to train one of Mike Tyson's trainers. and he was doing something in Staten Island and I think in Brooklyn and in Harlem he wanted to do, where he wanted to bring, you know, hip hop and boxing together to get kids to come in, but they were going to talk about education, all this and that. So I was telling my man, like, yo, you should get him as a part of this. And his response was, nah, because I want to be known for some goody shit. And this is a rapper who's had, at that time, already had about 5-6 albums, got his core audience. You know what I'm saying? He's a popular rapper, you know what I'm saying? Again, I wish I could say his name, but I'm not going to put him on blast. If he's hearing this, he knows what I'm talking about. But it was a part of his image. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't be seen doing something like that, like popular. And I'm like, but I also know from my man that this cat doing shit on a more grassroots shit where there's no exposure to the public, and he's doing some shit in the hood that nobody's seeing. And I'm like, damn, yo, I felt conflicted. Like, yo, I love this cat as a rapper, as an MC, but damn, dude, I'm like, I'm trying to get you affiliated. Fuck how it makes you look. I mean, what about the kids that you want to help? You know what I'm saying? But again, his quote from my man was, I don't want to be known for some goody shit. I'm like, wow, man, that's part of the problem, yo.
Yeah, you're right. So let's start doing this. So it's now time, and definitely my opinion, I think we've all agreed that hip-hop needs to be broken down into genres now. Like the same way with rock and roll, and I always tell cats, you know, you could ask 5 different people what rock and roll is, and they may give you 5 different people. You know, you ask my mom's rock and roll, she may say Chuck Berry, Little Richard. You ask another dude rock and roll, he may say Van Halen. You know, another dude may say Lenny Kravitz. Another person may say Billy Joel, which is why you got your alternative rock, you got your classic rock, you got your metal. You know, you had to break down, same thing with jazz. You know, you had the traditional jazz, and then you got smooth jazz, and you got all these genres. So then that way, because I always tell people, if you just say, yo, there's a hip hop show tonight downtown, and you go, you don't know who you're going to see. You may see Juicy J. You don't know who you're going to see. And then half the crowd is disappointed. Like, oh, I thought this was a hip hop show. So let's break the genres down. So the hip hop that we're talking about. And I know that there's some young dudes out there watching like, old head, come on. Yo, it's all hip hop. And I'm like, no, it's not all hip hop. Because my culture, like you said, Beezo, you know, I had the chance of interviewing Africa Bambaataa, and like, you know, if you know the history of hip hop, like I know y'all do, but maybe some of our viewers don't, is that this dude was the head of the Black Spades, one of the biggest gangs in New York City, and he brought hip hop together to stop all the violence. You know, it was like, yo, stop fighting and let's break against each other, let's rhyme against each other, let's do this. So now what these cats are doing really, to me, isn't my culture. So to start breaking it down, the hip hop that we know and love, I say we keep the name. I'm on some we was here first. Like,
I mean, look, you gotta look at it like this, man. When I went to, that's how you killed the Pete Rock Primo show last week or whatever. Primo, right before the show was over, was like, look, no disrespect to the younger audience and these younger hip hop, so-called hip hop heads. He's like, but the hip hop that we know and love from the 90s that y'all just seen tonight, and I mean, it was like Camp Low performed, the Beat Nuts, Brand Nubian, you know, they's playing Pete and Primo's like illest songs or whatever. And it's like, there's something that Bink said when he was talking about, there's a difference between that turn up music and hip hop. Hip hop it makes you do this, literally. It's a head nod, that boom bap, them hard drums. Hip hop was always about hard drums, a bass line, and an ill sample, and an MC rhyming over it, and then some cuts. When's the last time you turned on the radio and listened to a dope hip hop song and heard a DJ cut on the song? A DJ is the core part of the original part of hip hop. So my thing is, if you ain't got no DJ that's a part of your sound, is a part of your elements of your music, that's not hip hop. I'm sorry, because the DJ was as much a part of hip hop as the MC, as the beat, as the drums, as all that. The DJ, I mean, that's where it all started. The DJ spinning the break record back and forth in the park, and the rapper getting up there rhyming. So if you ain't got a DJ incorporated into your elements, your sound, you're not hip hop to me, man. I'm sorry.
I don't know if I can take it down.
I don't know about that, but I got a question.
I mean, because how you going to differentiate?
So the roots are not hip hop?
They got DJ. I seen them on live and shit. They may not be on every album and stuff like every song, but my point is,
you saying on a live show?
Yeah, just like that's what I'm saying. Like, any part of your hip hop existence, performance, whether it's recordings, performance, if you don't have any DJ involved, but you just rocking off of DAT tapes or whatever it is now, that's not hip hop, man. I'm sorry, it's just not. It's not. Primo used to always I would always see Primo working for Cash, and you could tell the Cash that he really rocked with, he would do live cuts on their songs. If he didn't rock with you on that hook, it was a sample. You ain't hear no cuts from Primo. I'm gonna take the check and lay you a beat, but I ain't cutting on your song because I don't respect what you're doing.
Yeah, I don't know if I can go that far to say if you ain't got a DJ, but I mean, because there's a lot of cats out here who don't. I mean, there is a lot of good hip hop. Like, to be honest, I love the Beat Nuts. I don't know the last time I heard any scratches on any of these joints, you know, or...
I'm not saying you gotta have scratching. I'm just saying, again, man, it's like EPMD. Scratch was a part of EPMD for a while. He didn't cut on every song that they did or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But when you went to a show, Scratch was as much a part of the show as them cats was. You know what I mean? Because Scratch was that ill a DJ. Same thing. You went to see Fresh Prince and Jazzy Jeff. You knew you gonna get a dope show from Jeff. I mean, and on some levels, maybe even doper than Will. You know what I'm saying? Because of how nice he was. And I know what y'all saying, and I feel you. But my point is, like, it's going so far to the extreme, to the other side, man. And it's like you got to draw a deep line in the sand. Like, you know what? I'm sorry, but some of y'all niggas may need to go out and get a DJ and come back when you got a DJ.
The only reason why
I out of control right now.
I wouldn't go that far with it is because if you look at all the elements of hip hop, you're gonna have the DJ, you're gonna have the writer, you're gonna have the dancer. You know, and there's no way to really, I mean, there is a way to incorporate all of that into the music, but, you know, MCing and the music is only one aspect of it because it's a culture. So it's not like, I don't think when you have a culture, you don't necessarily need everything at the same time all the time. So, I mean, that's what
you said. Again, I'm not saying that, again, I'm not saying you have to have a DJ on every song. The DJ has to be like the third member of the group or whatever like that.
I'm saying somewhere along the line, the DJ need to be
a part of what you're doing. Even the part of your whatever, your artistry or whatever, that a DJ should be incorporated in that on some level. Because I'm telling you, a lot of these cats, you go to shows, man, they rocking off of DAT tapes.
I mean, because a lot of the newer cats weren't raised in the era we were, where the DJ's name came before the rapper's name. You know, like, you would never put a DJ's name now before the rapper's name. You know what I mean? But you had Eric B. and Rakim and Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince and Marvelous, you know, Cash Money and Marvelous. It's like the DJ, we grew up in an era where the DJ was almost just as important to the group as the MC was, you know. And for a lot of cats nowadays coming up, they don't even know about that whole era. But I say we're keeping the hip hop name. It's a culture. We would say it first. They ain't Christopher Columbus and us. So for cats like Juicy J, what should that genre of music be called? You know, is it Beezo's fuckery? Is that what we call that genre? Like, is it strip club anthem music? What is that, so that they can have their lane?
Before we go to that point, though, Kill, I just asked if you could define, because you're saying we're keeping hip hop, and I know what you mean.
Yeah,
but listeners out there may not know what you mean. So what does that mean?
What I mean by we're keeping hip hop, because for years, even when I'm doing music and, you know, YouTube is asking for a tag or SoundCloud is asking for a tag, I've just always called our sound boom bap.
Well, I'm saying, who is we and who is our? Can you define that for the people?
That's my point, though, Ev. I'm gonna cut you off, Kill, but that's why I'm saying about the DJ, because the lines have been so blurred. There are no lines anymore. You know what I'm saying? In terms of separating, and we basically trying to create names for something that we see. But where's the cutoff point with something being hip hop and not being hip hop? You know what I'm saying?
And see, I think,
like, how do you identify that?
Well, I guess to answer the first question, when I'm talking about hip hop, and this is just for me, I'm thinking about dudes who, if there was a show in town, I want to see a Pete Rock and CL Smooth, a Premier joint back when Gangstar was around, like you said, be a Camp Low, the Beat Nuts. You know, I guess what they call what is it, the golden era of hip hop, those type MCs, the Mos Defs, Sorry Vic, the Talib Kweli's, you know, the Roots, you know, dudes like that, those groups of people, Foul Monch, you know, when we're doing our MC Battle of the Boroughs, the MCs we're bringing up, to me, that's the hip hop audience of what I'm saying. Now, I know a lot of those cats, a lot of times for monetary reasons, probably wouldn't want to be put in a box. The same way I've heard Talib Kweli say things like, don't put me in the conscious box. Like, don't put me in that box because I may want to do a strip club song, you know, or if you put me in that conscious box, now the second I say something about a stripper or you see me at the strip club, it's like, oh my God, how could Talib Kweli be at the strip club, but you a conscious rapper? So I know rappers don't like boxes, but I think rappers will make better music if they was in boxes, because I wonder a lot of times how much is that really, I don't want to be looked at as the conscious rapper, or you just want to leave the gate open so you can jump on a verse with 2 Chainz to get some money. You know what I mean? So
that's
the
the problem,
rap in a box helps make better music. It may not help your bank account being in a box, but we just talking about a culture in music right now.
Is it possible? Oh, my bad, Vic. Go ahead, because you haven't said that in a while.
Just like, I want to ask y'all, because I know, like, I listen to a lot of music, and I got a writer's point of view about hip hop. Getting up, I got a whole other view of it. I wasn't no rapper, I wasn't no DJ. I wrote, so I got a different version of it. But when you talk about like Miles Davis, like you said earlier, and it went on into, you know, they had hard bop, fusion. That all came about because these guys were experimenting with their music. So my question to y'all as producers, DJs, and rappers, are you experimenting and bringing it to another level so you can coin it and call it something else? Because that's really what Miles and them did, especially Miles. He threw a guitar on there and was like, yo, this is fusion now. I'm going to fuse all these elements together, and boom.
But see, I see what you're saying, Vic.
You had all these other cats that came through. So
but see, I see what you're saying, almost on some jazzmatazz stuff with Google, but I'm talking about, I know traditionalist jazz musicians who can't stand the Kenny G or smooth jazz. So right. That's what I mean by the genres of jazz, is that, you know, a traditionalist can't stand smooth jazz, which used to be.
My question is anybody who in rap has really, you know, only group I could think of that took a chance and stepped up to another level, which they did big in Europe and really not here, was the Roots.
Well, I mean, y'all not gonna, I wasn't a big fan of it, but you gotta give it to the RZA and Prince Paul and them when they, you know, they wasn't only ones, but they the whole hardcore type thing they was doing.
Right. They just,
but I think that the answer to that question is interesting, because jazz, you know, when jazz came about and then as it grew, they had a tendency to go back and give things a name. The problem with hip hop is it's been going for the past, you know, 3-4 decades, and we've never did any type of categories for things. And now you got this like pot of goulash all together, and everybody's, you know, running under the same title. Not to backtrack a little bit, because Kill, you gave your answer. And I don't mean to like be on it too hard, but the answer was more about the people. But is there a way for us to put like what the sound is? What the sound, like what the sound itself is?
I think it's that
difficult. I'm not saying you might not be able to do it, because I know that's I think it's how to dictate.
Yeah, but you're right, and that's why I said that crazy shit about using the DJ as the start north point, because that's a difficult line of delineation to just decide, okay, that's hip hop, that's not hip hop. And I'm not even talking about who's deciding that's hip hop and that's not hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Because what y'all was saying about jazz, I think one of the things that you can't not take into account is the time in terms of society. Back then, the people who were giving it these names was the white audience and the white critics and all that stuff. It wasn't necessarily the jazz musicians themselves that were coining it. This is fusion. This is this, that. It was the critics, you know what I'm saying, writing for all these magazines about jazz. But now hip hop is like, we in a part of society and time now where, you know, hip hop has always been about the braggadocious, and like you said, Kill, rappers don't like getting put into a box, even if it's for their own good. But it's like, who amongst them would be willing to view themselves as, I'm hip hop, I'm trap music, I'm this music, I'm that music. You know what I'm saying? So who's giving it? What's the line of delineation?
We don't necessarily have to use jazz. The rock cats did it. I'll bring in the black music. The reggae cats did it. You got dancehall, ska, rockers, lovers rock. You mean they break theirs down, and that's the individual artists. They
Right.
can tell you what type
Right.
of reggae they do. It's
But
reggae.
then I think, but that's something I think that it's difficult
I'm
just
a dance hall
in
cat.
that where we at now. I don't see these rapper niggas, man, having the. I don't know. I just don't see them wanting to. Some of them that are on the cusp. You know what I'm
So
saying?
here's
That
my
like
question,
they're trying
and
to
I
do
don't mean
both.
to put my brother on blast. Ev, we got you. What would you call your hip hop? What would you call your music?
That's a real good question. When people ask me, I can never give them a one-word definition as far as to what my sound is, because, like you said, it changes. Sometimes I might do some of my stuff is some straight dirt shit, and I call it dirt shit. It's the dirt shit because I like the dirt sound. Some of that stuff is dirt shit. Some of it is like a merge of hip hop and Afrobeat. Like Post Boat. Post Boat for me I was like, yo, I want a little bit of the dirt from Africa, I want a little bit of dirt from where I'm from, and I want to just merge that shit together. So, I mean, a lot of times when I have to answer that question, I can never give it a quote unquote category or title, because number one, there's none that really exists, and number two, even by the songs itself are one song may be over here, one song may be over there. I can tell you what it's not. I can always tell them what it's not. Well, it's not going to be your down south shit, like the heavy down. I ain't talking about the Outcasts and your Goody Mobs. I'm talking about like, that
Dirty South sound.
dirty. It's not a dirty south sound. It's not necessarily it ain't no gangster music. It's not that. It ain't no stripper club type music. It's not that. So I can pinpoint and say what it's not, but saying what it is, there really aren't any categories, So I always have to give like, pretty long elaborated definition.
I think y'all let too many.
That's hip hop though. Hip hop to me is the foundation, and then we just actually named a couple of different genres. Just in
Yeah, I
the
was about to say, F just
gangster hip hop. It's not dirty south. That's a genre right there. Dirty south. Trap music. I don't know. Part of my ignorance. I'm a little old. I don't know what turned up. I don't know what that is, man.
I don't know what turned
I don't know what this sound is. I don't know what trap music is neither. I don't know what qualifies that. Then what I call like the techno sound in hip hop, like the Jay and Kanye's album, which I didn't care for personally. I'm just gonna put that out there. But I call that type of music hip hop because it's a lot of techno music. It's a lot of electronic, synthesizer sound, and like Kanye's last album, that is not hip hop, man. That's like techno music with a rapper on it. That's all that is to me.
What about Bambaataa?
See, that's hip hop. I mean, it was different. It was a different time. And I know you're talking about like with the 808s and Mantronics and all that. I mean, that whole style and sound, that's really where the Dirty South sound comes from. It's from Mantronics and Soul Sonic Force. That's where they get all them 808s with the booms and all that. It's from really those two groups. You know what I'm saying? Mantronics and Soul Sonic Force. My African Bambaataa in there. But the point I'm trying to make in all this is that I think it's like, I don't want to say it's too far gone, but I think that what Ev said is how you have to do it. It's not coming in defining what is hip hop. It's more about defining what's not hip hop. And once you define, okay, that's not hip hop, we're gonna put it in this category. It's because it's this. It's not hip hop. You know what I'm saying? But what Ev is doing, just from listening to what he's saying, that is hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Without even hearing it, that's hip hop. But when you go in and you doing a specific trap music, I'm gonna do Dirty South because I'm from Alabama, then you're not doing regular old boom bap hip hop, if you want to call it that. You know what I'm saying? Because the drums is what separates a lot of these different types of hip hop, man. It's really the drums, the syncopation of the drums, man.
And what's a good point that you bring up, Vic, is that now I'm thinking, for me, a lot of the music, it's like a mixture of what Beezo was saying with the beats. Because I can easily sit here and say, well, Juicy J is not hip hop, or the Yin Yang Twins ain't hip hop, because of their content. But is it really the content then?
No.
You know what I mean? Because what if they had banging beats? What if, Classic RZA was doing the Yin Yang Twins beats?
I was there.
Would I call that hip hop? So I think for me, a lot of this starts with, like Beezo said, for me, not just the drums, but the beat itself. So when I heard the Whisper song, I'm like, that's a nice club banger. That's something that's definitely gonna bang in the club. But that when I say that's not hip hop, I think it's like Beezo says, for me, it kind of starts with the music.
It's
You know
funny,
what I mean?
It's funny you bring it up, man, because when I think about the music and, you know, past 10, 15 years, and I look at it, I don't look at it as category, I look at it as time periods. I'll go, well, all right, they just basically doing the 80s, but they're exaggerating more with this, and that. So instead of just them out there, you know, everybody's back to being the ruler and the king of the world again. All right, cool. Or you be like, well, these cats, to me, like right now, you have some of these cats, you know, like Kendrick Lamar reminds me of like that early '90s period of, and I'm coming from the perspective of an MC. I'm not even thinking about the beats. I'm just thinking about like what they're rhyming about, their style, delivery. Like he would remind me of some early '90s type stuff. You know, but you think about the content, okay, his content is still, you know, even early 90s content was kind of like, you know, all over the place. But I'll think about it as more or less with the time period. And because the times always go around and go around, just some things get more exaggerated than others.
Now, I think that's a great point you make, Ev, because my cousin from Brooklyn, who's probably, I guess I'm 39, he may be like 46. I remember when NWA first came out, and I was like, yo, this is dope. He was like, man, that ain't hip hop. You know, all that cursing and, you know, F the police and, you know, all that stuff. He was like, yo, that ain't hip hop. That ain't the Busy Bee I grew up on. That ain't the Cold Crush Brothers, you know. But for our generation, you know, NWA was hip hop. Dr. Dre was hip hop. You know what I mean? So like you said, it's almost by the eras. And and I used to always say this, that I feel like hip hop has a glass ceiling. Where it's like you get to a certain age and that's when you start saying that's not hip hop. You know, so my cousin telling me NWA wasn't hip hop, I'm looking like at him like you on crack. Like, yo, you hear these beats? You know, you hear these rhymes, you hear Ice Cube. So for me, it was all just about the beats and the lyrics. Was the beat dope and could the rapper rap? And I think when I say Juicy J's not hip hop, I don't look at it like the beats are dope and Juicy J can't rap. So I think for me, that's what automatically gets you kicked out. The hip hop thing is like, you know, all these new dudes that I keep hearing about, the 2 Chainz. I don't like 2 Chainz beats. 2 Chainz can't rap, so that ain't hip hop. You know, I don't like the Yin Yang Twins. I don't like their beats. They can't rap. That ain't hip hop. So I think for me, and just having this conversation with y'all, because I'm thinking, what if, I mean, I know he wouldn't do this, prayerfully he wouldn't do this, but what if Pharoah Monch did the Juicy J $50,000 for Twerking? Could we sit back and say, well, that ain't hip hop? Pharoah ain't hip hop?
Well, we could say that ain't what he's doing in hip hop. I wouldn't.
Right, we could say that's not what he's doing is not hip hop. But when I say Juicy J ain't hip hop, I'm talking about everything that he puts out. Bands will make her dance. I'm like, that ain't hip hop.
Let me ask you something, because I gotta plead ignorance on that. What the hell? Who the hell is Juicy J, man?
Juicy J from 3 6
I mean, I thought he was the DJ.
Nah, he one of the rappers. Yeah, he from the group 3 6 Mafia.
No, I know that. I thought he was the DJ.
No, he's the MC. It was him and the other dude with the little arm, but I guess the dude with the little arm ain't round him right now.
Homeboy got the pullback joint.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm sorry.
That's crazy.
That's what I call that shit.
I don't know if they broke up. I don't know what happened, but Juicy J is on his solo joint. He had the joint Bands Will Make a Dance. And that was just, you know, strip club anthem for, I guess, the past 2 years. So I think for me, like you were saying, Ab, to kind of draw the delineation, for me, a lot of times it starts with, if you can't rap, you ain't hip hop. If you do these little nursery rhymes, 1 + 1 = 2, a dog is blue rhymes, you ain't hip hop. If your beats are whack, you ain't hip hop. That's why so many of these new dudes who are popping right now.
What would you classify it as then?
Whack. I'm almost with you. Like it's whack. Like,
I'm just
so
saying
when I go
this.
to Target, I'm gonna look. See, where's the whack hip hop section at? That's what I'm looking for.
I've been saying this for a while now. It's like we like in the disco era. Like you had all this crazy music in the '70s, and all of a sudden, all these other cats, you know, all this disco music. And that's how I look at it. What was I gonna say, man? I lost my train of thought there. But I think Juicy J probably knows this pop. But he has this hip hop look, and of course the corporate world, that's how they're gonna push it. It's hip hop, but he probably knows this ain't, you know, I'm just making some music, man.
I mean, you know what though, fam? I'm gonna take it back a little bit. Because, you know, I remember about I want to say 8, 9, 10 years ago when I started going to the mall and seeing this store. Damn, I forget the name. I forget the name of the joint. It seemed like a few malls. I seen him in Maryland. I seen him in Jersey now. I seen him all over the place. And I talk about I hate him. And my dudes back, I'm like, well, Bobby, they got all the fly hip hop clothes. I'm like, that's the problem. I'm like, I remember back in the days growing up, you had to know the spot to find the 40 below Timbs. You had to know the spot to find the North Ridge joint, the North Face snorkels and all that. You had to know the spots. It wasn't just I call them stores hip hop superhero stores. You go in, slide down a pole, and you hip hop. You know what I'm saying?
I'm 42, fam. We didn't buy it. You had to take the burgundy lead 12s and the black lead 12s, and you split them joints and sew them together. That's how we got two-tones. That's how that shit got started, man. Look, word is born, man.
But see what I'm saying? But that's hip hop, though. It's like, hip-hop. You know what I'm saying? The piece of wood with the crate stapled to the damn telephone pole, and you playing ball. That's hip hop. You know what I mean? That's black folks
no more
making something out of
any
nothing.
bad out there that don't steal their paint. You're not getting up, man. That's the whole part of it. You gotta rack your paint. So, you know, if we gonna
and
really,
you know what? It's funny you brought that up, Vic.
Go ahead.
It's funny you brought that up, Vic, because it was one of those things where, like, you know, I would always read about doing graph that it's like that was the whole purpose. You know, it was like first you got to take the chance to steal your paint. Then you got to break into the train yard. You know, and it all came from a place of love. And I think it goes back to what Ev talked about with eras, is that we came up in hip hop in the era of love. It was like me in 5th grade telling my parents I want 2 turntables and a mixer, and my friends being like, yo, you gonna waste your Christmas on 2 turntables and a mixer? Like, you ain't getting this new Optimus Prime, and you ain't getting these new Transformers, and you know, even my parents were like, what you gonna do with 2 turntables? You know, whereas now, like you said, Beezo, I remember when the Source started to have in the back page the ads, the value mills. You could get 2 Techniques, a mixer, you know, for $4.99, and you could get, you know, it was like the hip hop value mills, and it was like you said, that's not hip hop. Like you said, Vic, if you tagging, you gotta steal your paint. You know, hip hop came from a place of turning nothing into something. You know, making SP12s and MPCs do things that the people who invented them, you know, it wasn't meant to do. A Technique 1200 was not invented to do the things that hip hop was able to make it do. So I think that those are those things. But I think just for me, how I can define it is if you whack, you're not hip hop. So when I first was hearing 2 Chainz names, and I was hearing it all the time, and he wants 100,000 for a verse and all these things, and I'm like, yo, this dude must be nasty. And then I hear him, and I'm like, yo, what?
Getting 100 G's a verse?
Yeah, he asking for 100 now, you know. And I guess Cats is giving it to him, but it's like, dog, yo, you can't rhyme. You know what I mean? It's that simple. Like 2 Chainz is the equivalent. Yo, Tone Loc may have taken out 2 Chainz in a battle. You know what I mean? So it's almost like that to me is where it starts with, like you said, Beezo, the beats and the rhymes. If the beat is whack and the rhymes are whack, that's not hip hop. We can call that whack. Like you said, Ev, you made a great point with the distinctions. It's like you said, it's not that down south trap music. You know, it's not your stripper club anthem. There's not gonna be a stripper coming out the post boat. They're just not. You know what I mean? So it's like those are the genres. So it's like when Juicy J says that, I want, and I know publications aren't going to say this and people aren't going to say this, I want them to say, see, that's that lean music, or that's that, you know, whatever, that's that strip club anthem music. You know, one of my people's White said it best, and this was years ago when he told me, like, yo, I ain't get the memo in my Source magazine saying, like, yo, rappers, we ain't making hip hop no more. We going to make strip club anthems for like the next 10 years. You know, because it seems like that's what happened. It was like, we're not concerned about, it's funny because I think me and you, Ed, was talking about this when Primo was saying he used to take stuff from D&D, take it into his MPV and into his truck and go out to the hood and play it and see how the hood reacted to it. Rakim said it, you know, I take it to the streets and to the city, I test it. You know, like, I'm gonna take this to BLS, I'm gonna take this to Kiss, and this is how we gonna test our music. We gonna want them to play it, take it out to the hood, see how the hood react to it. That's how we know our hip hop is good. Yo, I've heard these stories of cats who now make music, and you know the first place they take it to? The strip club.
Oh, yeah, wow.
Let's see how the strip club reacts to it.
But you know what?
And that's how we'll know how good this is. So that's a hint right there too. If you leave your studio and you take your music to the strip club, that ain't hip hop. That ain't hip hop.
But see, you know what though?
That's another hint for y'all cats.
You know what though? What I think, what first of all, like I said, who is deciding all this? You know what I mean? I think my first choice for that, other than myself and y'all cats, would be like KRS. I've been saying for a little while that I think KRS is the epitome of hip hop. I mean, he's a writer, he's DJing at times, and he's a graffiti artist. Only thing he doesn't do, I don't know. I mean, that's pretty much hip hop. You know what I'm saying? He may not make the beats like that, but he does everything else. You know what I'm saying? He literally is hip hop. He says something in the interview, and this is a little bit going back to what we just talked about when they did Self-Destruction, and he was saying how like Russell wouldn't let Def Jam artists be a part of that.
Yeah.
And he was like, don't be mad at Russell, don't be mad at Russell. And my wife was like, damn, well, I want to be mad at Russell. Why can't I? And I'm like, he's just saying that because it's probably like, because Russell is what he is in the game, and he doesn't want people hating on Russ. And I think that's, if you got one of the epitome of hip hop, knows that in a little interview he's doing up in Canada, he's still got to tread lightly when talking about this dude, Russell Simmons. That's how far gone this stuff has gotten away from hip hop. That's what I'm saying. It's like, I think you got to come from the back side of it and decide, don't worry about what is hip hop. You almost got to pick out what's not hip hop, because most of this stuff nowadays isn't hip hop. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's, you have to start from a point of, usually, you want to build and destroy, but you got to start off by like pulling away all the nonsense so you get back to the core of what it really was and what it once was. And like you just said, Kill, it was about taking something from nothing and creating, giving life out of, from something you pull out the ether, from an idea you had out your head or whatever, and giving it life and creating a whole culture, a walk, a dress, a talk. Now, in deciding who, figuring out who decides what's hip hop, it would have to be somebody, people from our generation. You know what I'm saying? Because they still using slang. They still wearing clothes, Air Force One, stuff like that I wore when I was 15, 14, 13. You know what I mean? You still got cats talking about Word when Word is born, which is straight from the nation of 5%. So there's no way, I'm sorry, any young cat watching this, no, there's no way some younger cat from this generation, if your starting point of hip hop is like Eminem, NWA and all that, you just didn't get the chance. It's like, somebody asked me the other day, the 5 greatest point guards in NBA history, and I'm like, you can't do that. I never saw Oscar Robinson play. I never saw Walt Clyde Frazier play. And I can't disrespect their games by saying Gary Payton or Isaiah is better than one of them dudes. But I can definitely say from Magic Johnson on up, the 5 best that I ever seen.
That's just it, though. I still get mad sometimes when I hear the Wu-Tang, and I'm a Cold Crush fan. I'm like, damn, they bit off the Cold Crush and never acknowledged it. So, for these kids, man, they got to start somewhere. I always told Ev that it's somebody right now in their basement getting ready to come out with the next shit.
Yeah.
But
I think
we just... Go ahead, man.
No, go ahead. Finish, my bad.
No, we just caught up right now, and it's a lot of shitty music put out by new and old cats.
Yeah. And that's part of the problem, too.
Real, man. The same thing with the graffiti thing, man. I hate to go back there, but I can use that as an example. They're teaching that shit in art class now. You know what I mean? I can't say the cats. I want to say it, but there are you can't tag on subways no more. They won that war with the buff and shit. The technology, you can't even get up like that no more in a lot of places, man. So to tell them cats that, that's not graffiti because you wasn't, hitting up 2s, 3s, you ain't on the wall, you ain't got no throw. It's a funny, touchy thing.
I think you just said yourself, if you ain't still in your paint, that ain't graffiti. You know what I mean? You just said that.
I digress. For cats these cats that's getting up on walls now. I'm into the vandal thing now. You got cats that are getting up on walls, and it's like, it's one thing when you in your book or your class, but when you come out here, these are like the real deal. And I always told Ev that. So to take that to like real MCs, y'all don't have ciphers or battles no more. You're not blowing these cats away. So they like, I ain't even rapping no more. I'm gonna just do something else. And graffiti, we still do that, man. You know what I mean? This one thing, I could tag, but then them dudes, your Copes, your Espos, my man Spy One, they all up and down the Northeast corridor. That's the real deal. And anybody into it, that's how we look at that. So
Vic, what you need to do then is you need to infiltrate these classes
You need to let them know after you graduate.
Field trips, son.
Yeah, after you graduate, come meet me up by the megabus, and we gonna take a trip up and down 95, so y'all can earn y'all stripes for real.
Put them out on the blocks,
the thing I wanted to add was, if you look at hip hop, you look at the start of the music part of it, and the fact that you had a bunch of younger cats who was basically taking records and making music out of it, for the simple fact that, you know, a lot of these dudes couldn't afford to go get an instrument. They couldn't afford to go buy a horn or a guitar or, you know, a keyboard or some shit like that. And the fact that you take, like you said before, taking something from nothing. And to me, that the level of creativity is what has lacked. Because hip hop kept moving because it kept becoming more and more creative. Cats kept doing different things. But, you know, once the dollars got up high enough, I think a lot of people, if not everybody, just got lazy. And so you don't get really no creativity anymore. So I think, you know, having this discussion, looking at what's not hip hop, is the fact that there really isn't any creativity. The creativity of it is pretty much gone because now everybody's about making paper. It went from, you know, this is my culture, this is who I am, this is what I'm about, to, okay, this is what I need to pay my bills and raise my kids and this and that. And you know, when you do that, like I think it was Chris. We always go back. Chris said this. I was watching an interview one time. I think he was at Temple, and he was saying that, you know, I do hip hop, but I might do other things to pay my bills. I may not necessarily use my music to pay my bills, because if I'm using my music to pay my bills, and I have to change my music so I can pay my bills. And when you do that, there's a sacrifice. Sacrifice a whole lot of what your quote unquote culture is. You know, because if your music, your hip hop music is part of your culture, but if you're using that to pay your bills, then it's not, you're not doing hip hop no more. You're just an entertainer. You're an entertainer, and if that's what you want to be, that's cool. You can do that.
I think that's one of the issues too, man. What you just said about, you know, cats are more entertainers. Like, Kill, you brought up 2 Chainz. I've always said this. There's MCs and there's rappers, and then there's cats who are just performers. You know, like Lil Jon, I don't know what that nigga is, producer, rapper, whatever. He just making noises on the sound. He's a performer. He's an entertainer first and foremost. End of story. That's what he is, and that's cool. That's what he is. That's what he is. But an MC, that's what the MC is, like the cat who has, like a Kendrick Lamar is an MC. You know what I mean? Like Em said before about his topic and, you know, things he raps about. That's what makes him an MC. There's an artistry to being an MC. 2 Chainz and these dudes are rapping. Rappers just put words together at the end of a line that rhyme. You know what I'm saying? That's it. I mean, you listen again. I'm sure Ev, you know this as an MC, but like the type of MCing that I love, the way Rakim and Kane and these dudes changed it, and even my man Grandmaster Caz was probably the first one to really change the way Caz did it. Was like, you know, the old days, Busy Being them type cats, it was like that, and those 2 words at the end rhymed, and that was the rhyme. But then Rakim and these other dudes came along with Caz, and the word in the middle of that line might rhyme with a word towards the end of the next line, which rhymes with a line. You know what I'm saying? It's like, it just became like, oh, these cats are getting mad creative while still saying something that you could relate to, you could envision with your mind and your thoughts, and you could actually see it, you know what I'm saying, and believe it, whatever you want to call it. But a rapper is just talking, man. He's like, what's what rapping is? You just talking. And that's what a lot of these dudes are. They're rappers, they're not MCs. Q-Tip to me is an MC, he's an artist. You know, there's a lot of artistry in his music and his rhymes and what he does. KRS, that's an MC. 2 Chainz, Juicy J, them dudes, they're rappers, man. They're not MCs. So I think that can help delineate, you know, kind of separate stuff, you know, from one another.
But we had to get to that though, Bees. It's like, look, man, I don't have no Kid and Play shit in my crib.
Yo,
I don't have them. I don't have no Red Hot Love Tone.
You ain't like
what I'm saying.
You ain't like Kid and Play?
No.
Oh, man, you ain't like Getting Funky?
That was their bullshit.
Yo, you ain't like Getting Funky.
At the time, I was in the BX, so it was like, yo, man, you know, when Ultra Mag and BDP and all that, that was to me like, okay, this is the street shit.
That was original dance hip hop to me. It
I was like,
they were like the first like party, not not first, but
see, you don't want to see. Then we go back to the timing because that's what hip hop was. It was a party. Hip hop started with Kool Herc throwing block parties. Yeah. So that's the whole point.
But now these artists nowadays say the same thing though. Well,
but the thing is again, you know what it goes back to? Dope beats and dope rhymes.
But you know what though?
Do This My Way was a dope beat. Getting Funky, can't nobody front on that beat. You may not. I mean, Kid and Play weren't no lyrical.
Last night.
But last night, check it out. If it was '88 and we was having this conversation, we wouldn't be having this conversation. Somebody would say that Kid and Play is not hip hop.
Right.
Somebody would say that because if you look about it at that point in time as a culture.
Yo, man, wasn't nobody saying in 1988 Kid and Play wasn't hip hop. Dog, let me tell you. Hold tight. Half the people, I don't know about New York. I don't know about New York. Half the people in Philly was getting a top piece, the first quarter piece of your high top fade.
And it was all the same. But look, Kill, we were all the same age. If you're talking at the older cats, you
talking about? Okay. You talking about?
As a yeah, you're gonna have some cats being like, oh, that can't play shit, like the man told Vic. That can't play shit, that shit ain't hip hop.
But the funny part is why I wouldn't get an old head saying that, because the old head came up during the times when lyrics were very simple. So to me, an old head should love Kid and Play.
But I ain't fuck with Kid and Play, man. It wasn't no old head. I didn't think that shit was
I was a big fan.
Hold tight. Vic, what you saying?
It wasn't no order thing. I just like at the time, man, the music I was listening to, that Kid and Play shit, man. I used to hate, like Red Alert. I'm like, damn, he would play it in the beginning, and as the show went on,
but that's what I was about to say. So you didn't like Last Night. You didn't like Last Night.
With the Last Night Change It All sample? What?
I mean, look, man, I was in the tunnel and all that shit, doing all that hard ass dancing. But to me, I was like, yo, I'm not buying that shit.
All right, so you just didn't like the whole. You didn't like the whole Herbie Love Bug clip. You didn't like Dana Dane, Sweet Tea, Kwame, Salt and Pepper.
You like Dana Dane?
I ain't really. I was a Slick Rick fan, so to me, Dana Dane was like the ripoff.
But you know they was in a group together though.
I know, but I was like.
But you know what? Now I understand where Vic coming from. Vic is like, I was in the BX.
Right.
I'm Ultra Mag. I'm BDP. I don't have time for that stuff. I understand where you coming from.
Rest in power. And B's gonna flip. I ain't fuck with Heavy D like that, man.